Hello, thanks for joining today's webinar. You can enlarge your screen for the optimal viewing experience using these buttons. You can also click the arrow here to view the hidden menu. The section at the very bottom will twirl out a menu that allows you to ask questions for the host to answer. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoy this webinar.
Hi everyone, my name is Tiffany, and with me today is Christina, and we are the product managers of TaxBandits. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today.
And as always, we just want to take a moment to remind everyone that while we love to talk about taxes and information returns, and we have years and years of experience, we are not tax advisors. So if you have specific questions or need assistance with a specific scenario, we always recommend reaching out to the IRS or a certified tax preparer directly.
Definitely. And would you like to take us into today's topic?
Yes, so big surprise, it's about year-end filing.
Imagine that.
I know we've all been waiting for January to come, and it's kind of been a preparation for it, but now here it is, right?
Yep.
So we want to really focus more on what are the deadlines, what forms are they for, what types of deadlines they are, and then how the different features and tools in TaxBandits are really going to help you to streamline your filing process, meet all the different deadlines that are due, whether it's January, February. I mean, there's a whole bunch on the 31st, but the next few months are really deadline heavy for a lot of the forms that TaxBandits supports. So we want to touch on how we're really helping you to confidently close out the year and make sure you're meeting all those deadlines. Do you want to start us off by just to give everyone some context? Tell us a little bit about what deadlines we're focusing on for January.
Definitely. So the first big deadline is January 31st. And there's a lot of forms that have that deadline. So I'm just going to read or go through the list of forms that we support that are going to be having that deadline. So I'm going to start with the 1099s, the NEC, the miscellaneous, if there's no data in box 8 or 10, the INT, the DIV, the R, K, G, OID, Q, PATR, and the LTC.
So a lot of that.
There's a lot. It's a good chunk.
And a lot of those are you said the recipient copy deadline specifically. So even if it's not a form that has to be e-filed by January 31st, a lot of them do have to be distributed by January 31st, right?
That recipient needs to get that, at least needs to be mailed
their copy
by January 31st.
Gotcha. So still a big deadline.
It is still a big deadline.
And I know, of course, the NEC is the most common 1099, and so that's due to be e-filed and distributed on the 31st, right?
Correct.
So good to know there. And then even for like the W-2 is another huge form that's supported. And obviously, like, employers are super familiar with it, but it is also due on January 31st to e-file and to distribute to those recipients. So another really big deadline, to start the year off there.
Absolutely. And if you're running real close to that deadline, just know that this timestamp on your transmittal within TaxBandits is what the IRS is looking at.
Which is, again, really, really helpful to know. And on the note of like the transmittal date, like that e-file timestamp, that goes for all the forms that are supported and e-filed through TaxBandits, including more forms that are also due on January 31st, which for a lot of companies, they're filing a 941. So the quarter for 2024 941 is actually due on January 31st.
Yes.
And then the tax year 2024 940, or like if you needed to file a 944, 943, 945, any of those for the 2024 tax year, those are all also due on January 31st.
Just a few.
Just a few. Now and we're gonna go into the features and the tools that are gonna make filing and handling that process a lot easier, and just how those things work. We've got some really good guides that we'll show, but I want to note really quickly that just because those things are due to be done by the 31st does not mean that you have to wait until the 31st.
Definitely.
Yeah, like it doesn't have to be done that day. I'm sure everyone's aware, but we are already accepting all of those forms. So if you have, the year's over. A lot of times companies
Yes.
have to wait until the year end to get all of like the final numbers.
Yep.
But we're officially here. So as soon as you have everything that you need as far as like the data to report goes, you can file with TaxBandits. If you are still getting things together and you don't have an account yet, go ahead and create your account now. You're able to go ahead and start the process in your account and get those things ready. And as soon as you have everything, go ahead and enter it and schedule. Like you can send it off, and then it's good to go. Even before the IRS accepts forms for the year, we start accepting them, and then we kind of hold them until the IRS opens up for e-filing again in the new year. So go ahead and do things as soon as you can.
Definitely. And a lot of the time-consuming part is getting the data in there. And we have a lot of features and things like that to help our clients get that data.
Yeah, help
in
simplify
easily.
it and save some time. So, and we'll touch on those in a little bit.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've covered the deadlines. We've covered, just the whole slew of forms that includes. Not to mention like all of the February and March and April things, but that covers a good bit of what we're focused on in January here. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what the first feature to spend some time on and focus on like getting up to date or getting set up would be to have a successful deadline month?
Oh, definitely. So what I always recommend to clients, especially if it's a firm or if they have even just a couple of team members that help them file the forms, it could be an office with one HR person that does all of it, but the company has to have an admin or whatever to
a lot
do
of times the person that wants to be the account holder is not necessarily the person doing the filing.
Exactly. So you definitely want to go into Bandit Collab. It can work for firms, it can work for small offices with one HR person. And this is just where they manage their team. They add their staff members and get that ball rolling, make sure they have the correct roles so everybody knows what they're doing. Now we're going to go ahead and show you a quick video about how you add your staff into Bandit Collab.
When you log into your account, you can click Bandit Collab here. Then, we can choose how we want our roles to be set up in the account. With Bandit Solo, every team member will have the same permissions to prepare, approve, and transmit forms. With Bandit Duo, there will be 2 roles, preparer and approver, and with Bandit Trio, there will be 3 roles, preparer, approver, and transmitter. Now, with any of these options, you can also make someone a co-admin, which gives them more access to your account. Today, we're going to show you Bandit Trio so you can see all the roles. We'll click Continue, and we'll add team members, entering their name, email address, and role. I'm going to add 1 for each different kind of role. So now we have a preparer, approver, and transmitter. Now, if we already have payers in our account, we can assign these individual team members to certain payers. We can also add them to groups so that all of the payers that have been added to that group will be automatically assigned. So now we will save and continue. Now you can see that all of these people have been invited, and they will each receive an email that looks like this from which they can sign in. So we'll start with our preparer. We'll sign them in, and we'll create a password for them, and begin preparing forms. So they'll click Start New Form, Create Forms. For the process to fill out these forms, check the video links in the description, and when they get to the form summary, they can notify this form to the approver. So we'll do that. Then from the approver side, when they log in, they can go to the 1099 dashboard for this business and view the unsubmitted forms here. And then view those forms, check them over, make sure all the information is correct, and then notify it to the transmitter. From the transmitter view, they'll view the form that has been sent over by the approver and click Continue, and then they can finish the filing process going through the checkout. And from your end, you'll see the status that your staff have accepted their roles. You can also edit and view details about each of the staff members, and under Activity Log, you'll be able to see actions taken by each of the preparers, approvers, transmitters, etc., and check in on all this information.
So once you get your staff in your account, what do you think the next step would be?
I really feel like once you have the team added, it almost goes hand in hand. Like it's almost parallel with the Bandit collab, is adding all of the payers and employers that you need to file for to your address book in TaxBandits. If you're just filing for one business, it's not such a such a high priority task, because the way it's set up is if you wanted to, you could really just add the business when you go to file. And if it's one EIN, it's pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
But if you are filing for clients, if you are filing for a high number of EINs, it's not time consuming, but it is something that you're going to want to go and get set up, right? Mm-hmm. So go into that address book. Again, with a high volume, using our bulk upload option, we have a template. It's pre-formatted, it's very straightforward, but it just lets you fill out that template with all of the different business details you need to file for, and then you upload them to TaxBandits, and you get all those payers in there at one time. That lets you, and the reason I say it goes hand in hand with Bandit Collab is it really lets you go in and choose, like for your staff members, mm-hmm. When you add them, you can pick roles. So you already have the option to pick like the level of access that they have. Yep. If they're making forms, if they're approving, if they're filing, whatever it may be. But when you have your payers in there, you also get to go in and you can pick for the staff, like who has access to those payers. Maybe they're managed by different office locations. Maybe there are some staff members that just manage certain clients. Whatever that looks like for your company, by getting both of those set up around the same time, you can really get everything customized the way that you need it to run for the season, and then you're good to go.
Kind of killing two birds with one stone.
Yes. So I really think that's a big focus. We are going to go ahead and show you, I know we just got through the Bandit collab video, but another really good feature is that address book, and so we're going to go through a quick video just to show you what that looks like.
So from your dashboard, you're going to click on the address book, and you will be immediately presented with a list of any payers that are in your account. To add new payers, we're going to click Add Payer, and we can either do this manually or by bulk upload. For now, we'll do manually, and we'll start by entering the type of TIN, either EIN, SSN, or other, where we can select from this list. Choose EIN. We can optionally enter a reference number, and then we're going to enter their name. If needed, we can add the doing business as or trade name here, and then their address. Then we're going to add their contact name and email address and phone number. And as a new feature, you can now add these payers to groups so that you can easily assign staff members or just sort payers in your account. So we're going to enter a group name. You can add multiple group names by entering a comma. Then if you are going to file W-2 or 9-4X forms, you can select the kinds of payer using these drop downs. Fill out all this information just to make this easier later, and click Save. And we've now added a payer. To add recipients to this payer, we'll click the Add Recipient button. And again, we could do this manually or by bulk upload. We can select what type of forms we want to file for this recipient, and again, what kind of TIN, then their name, trade name or doing business as name if needed, date of birth optionally, then their address. Then we strongly suggest that you add an email for your recipients if you want to give them online access to recipient copies of any forms. Any Form W-9 information that you wish using that dropdown, any 1042-S information you wish using that dropdown, and any ACA information that you wish using that dropdown. When you're finished with all of this, click Save. And now this recipient has been added to this pair. We can go back to the main dashboard. You'll have additional options here, including adding more recipients, editing this pair, viewing, deleting, or deactivating them.
Okay, so now that we have, we've shown you the address book, we've talked about why it's important. I know it's your turn, but I'm going to add a super quick other note about the address book that I think is really cool.
But wait, there's more.
Yes, just like the old TV, like the infomercials. But so valuable is TIN matching. And for anyone that's not so familiar with TIN, the reason it's good to note here is it's actually in your address book where you can enable it. For anyone that is not as familiar with TIN matching, what that is you're able to add the recipient details in that address book if you want to go ahead and get those added when you add your payers. And basically, it's comparing the name and TIN combinations that you've uploaded to your TaxBandits account against the IRS database. And then if they're successful, you get confirmation, and you know the information is good to file in 1099 forms. Yeah. However, if the information is not matching the IRS database, you'll actually get an error message. And that lets you know, okay, well, I need to go and I need to either contact my vendors, my recipients, or if you're filing for clients, you'll need to reach out to them and kind of have that conversation or however you want to handle it, but making sure that you're getting the correct vendor or recipient information before you file the 1099s. Now, obviously, the IRS can't provide the correct information. That's why this part's needed, but knowing ahead of time really helps you to prepare in advance and to make sure that you're doing everything you can to try to have the right information, because if it's wrong, it's more than likely going to get rejected, and so that's going to cause more headaches and more trouble down the line than just having the right info and getting it done the first time.
Exactly.
So that is my spiel on the TIN matching. And if you, I know I said that was my spiel, but I'm gonna add one more quick thing about the TIN matching. If you do not want to add your recipients in the address book, if you say, I'm just gonna upload them when I go to file, you can schedule the TIN matching before you transmit. So if you didn't want to do it in the address book, you can do it when filing, but we can.
That is true.
We can continue. Tiffany, what's your next? What's your next favorite or next most important feature you want to talk about?
Well, so you've done all the other things. You've gotten your team in there. You've gotten your Band Connect set up. You've added everything to your address book. You've done your TIN matching. So what's next? Actually getting the data into the account, right? So there's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can do a bulk upload, or you can do it manually if you only have a couple. That's definitely recommended. But if you're doing a bulk upload, we have bulk uploads for the majority of our forms. So you can download our template, or if you have your own template, you can use it and input your information, then upload the CSV file into our system, and it will map your data into the forms, and you'll just be able to preview and continue on filing just like that.
And with that, that same preview and continue filing, so it's such a great feature. The options to, if it's the NEC, you have the option to use your own template if you want to. You can map the headers. It's really, really, really simple. Our integration options, if you're using something like Sage Intacct, for example, you can import the data right from Sage.
Yes.
So a lot of really great ways to get the data into TaxBandits. But we will go ahead and just show you a quick video on that bulk upload process.
So from your dashboard, you're going to click Start New Form, then select W-2. Select the correct tax year, and up here, click Bulk Import. We're going to then select an employer from the address book, or add a new one manually. Then we're going to click here to use our standard CSV template. Click Download our standard template. Now open that file in Excel or a similar program and proceed to fill out all the rows. The employee's social security numbers, you can always copy these from an existing spreadsheet. Employee first name. Mandatory fields will be marked with an asterisk. And if you want to provide online access to these forms, we recommend adding the employee's email address here. And down here, we'll get to wages, tips, and other compensation, income tax, withheld, if any, etc. Then down here, we'll have state information. You'll do this for every employee you want to add. Then just save this as a CSV file again, return to TaxBandits, and upload the template here. You can either drag and drop or click that link. Once it's been uploaded, click Continue. You'll then be able to preview those records to make sure everything is mapping correctly, then click Continue to Process. And if there are any errors, you'll see them here. So we'll click Fix Errors. We can go in and update anything that needs to be fixed, completing that process for every individual. Once all errors are corrected, you can click Continue to Filing. On this screen, you can view forms, generate PDFs to review a W-3, and more. We'll click Continue to State Filing. If you have state filing options, you will fill them out here. We'll click Continue to Form Distribution, and then we will choose how we want to share the forms with our employees. So Bandit Complete will provide online access and postal mailing only, online access only, or you can choose self-service print and mail, wherein you are responsible for printing and mailing the recipients their copies. Do Bandit Complete, click Continue to Form Summary, check everything over. You can schedule a filing for a date in the future if you wish, and then come back to it and edit it before that date. Then click Proceed to Checkout. You'll see everything that you've chosen and a price breakdown, as well as the total price. If you have credits, you can use those. If you have Bandit Cash, you can use that. Click Complete Your Order. Agree to the credit card usage acknowledgement. Choose an existing credit card or add another one. Confirm that you have the authority to use that card and click Pay and Transmit. And that's it. You can keep track of the status of this order from your dashboard here. You will also receive email updates.
Okay, so now that we have looked at the bulk upload process, we've talked about the different options for getting your data into TaxBandits. I want to touch on, and this is just something automatic, it's not an extra step, it's not a task, it's not something to set up, it's just really cool. When you add that data, TaxBandits is automatically validating that information. So throughout our filing process and throughout the different pages in our application, we have built in really audit checks that are based off of the IRS business rules, based off of their e-file requirements. And so we're helping to make sure that when you're adding a TIN number, that it's not a character short. Like it's not 7 digits or 8 digits instead of 9, right? We're helping to make sure that you're not reporting a 1099 NEC that has like $10 for the compensation and $10,000 for the tax withheld. You know, it's a lot of this ends up being like data entry for a lot of companies, and so we want to help you make sure that there aren't any errors in that information. You know, obviously we're not going to know what the paid amounts were, but we can validate things like are the required fields completed?
Exactly.
Is the math?
Is there a typo somewhere? It's gonna
Exactly.
check for all of that.
Should the EIN not begin with a 0? That sort of information. And that goes for like the federal details. We're also validating some of the state details. If you need to file 1099s or W-2s with the state, we're alerting you if the state requires a unique payer state number.
Yes.
Or like for some of the 1099s, TaxBandits supports recon forms. And so we'll prompt you if that's something that you want to complete through us and it's supported. But we have validations just throughout to help you make sure that you've completed everything. And on that same note, one of the things that we validate that's pretty cool is the W-9.
We do.
So while you're thinking about getting your data into TaxBandits for 2024, you may have a lot of the information already. But a great practice to put in place now is doing your W-9 collection through TaxBandits because of our W-9 manager. It seems like such a simple process, but the W-9 is actually really important, and it's not really important until you go to file 1099s that are wrong. So not great. With the W-9, you're really collecting the correct name and TIN, and so having a solid, secure, consistent process for that just helps make sure you have everything that you need for the whole purpose of that W-9, right?
Exactly.
So doing it through TaxBandits, not only is it securely requesting the vendor to electronically complete the W-9, and the vendor gets a copy once they've completed it, but as the TaxBandits account holder or TaxBandits staff members, you're also able to see the completed W-9, and you can actually reject it. If you look at it and it has LLC as the business name, clearly that's not right, but you know, whatever it may be. But just as an example, if you see something and you go, oh no, they misunderstood, or oh, there's a typo here, whatever it could be, you can reject it, provide your own explanation for like, oh, this isn't quite right, please double check this and update it. But you as the preparer, you as the business, you can provide that error to the vendor, and then they get prompted to fix it and resubmit it to you, and you get to make sure that it's right instead of just having somebody fax you a paper that gets filed in a filing cabinet for the next 7 months. And when it's accepted, when you've accepted it as the as the staff member, as the account holder, it remains in your account. We are also currently completing TIN matching when the W-9 gets completed. And so if you do the W-9 request through TaxBandits, The tin matching's happening automatically, so it's helping you make sure the stuff is
Simultaneously,
right.
you're killing the two birds with one stone again.
And then you don't have to worry about it at the next year end. So I
Exactly.
know, again, I had a very long-winded, excited explanation about features, but if you want to take us to our next topic for just getting ready for those year-end
Well,
deadlines.
also, I wanted to add with the W-9, if there is updated information that comes back on the W-9, it'll update it in your address book.
Circling back to that importance of that
Into
address
that
book.
address
Yes.
book, yes. So just to recap, some of the services that we offer.
Yeah.
For 1099s, we have federal filing and state filing, postal mailing, online access, USPS, address validation, and TIN matching. To be clear though, I do want to let you know that we only have federal filing for 94X forms.
Correct. So like 1099s, W-2s will file with the IRS, will file like W-2s with the SSA. We're handling, like you said, the state filing and all that stuff. But for the 94X forms, like the 941s and 940s, when you're seeing postal mailing, like that is you, the business, or the client receiving a hard copy of that form. But we're not printing, like there's not a recipient with that. We're not handling state filing with those forms. So that's really good to note, is just here are all the things that we're actually going to help you with when it comes to the deadlines. So definitely some great options there.
And you do see that in the flow of filing. So you'll be able to see and opt in for all the options that are available.
Absolutely. You said something. Oh, you know what? You mentioned USPS address validation, and I really wanted to talk about like when you are. It fits really well with what you said, just because you're correct. When you're going through the filing process, we're going to prompt you to opt for anything that you need. When you do that with the 1099s, with the W-2s, there's a form summary page where you're able to, like I mentioned a while back now, you can add TIN matching, or you mentioned that you can add the USPS address validation.
Yes.
When you do those things, a really great practice, assuming that you're filing early enough in the month and you have time for it, is to schedule your filing. It's really up to you. It's customizable. You can either have your forms transmitted right then when you complete your order, or we do have clients and firms and businesses who sometimes opt to schedule their filing. And what that means is, even though you are completing your order today and you're paying and it's transmitted, the forms won't actually be e-filed with the IRS, the SSA, the state, distributed. All that stuff won't actually happen until the scheduled date that you pick. So if it was January 10th and you opted to have everything sent on the 15th, the forms actually will get e-filed on the 15th, even though you've paid and transmitted on the 10th. Now, the benefit of that, and why I bring that up in terms of the features, is with things like TIN matching and USPS address validation, it usually takes at least a couple of business days to have those statuses back from the IRS or from the USPS records and get those in your account and make sure that you have a chance to go in and review them and then collect the correct information and then go in and update that on the forms.
Yes.
It's not... it's not a hard process, but it is something that you want to allow yourself time for.
Yes.
So by going through and scheduling the filing, when you've opted for those extra services, you have kind of a window, right?
Yes.
Where you're
You've
getting the
allowed
status.
yourself that safety net.
Exactly. You're getting the status back, you're going in and updating what you need to, and you're able to do that before those forms get filed. The other thing that we've heard on our side is just when you're filing, really in either case, if you're a preparer, there's always going to be a scenario where a client comes back and says, oh no, I gave you last year's numbers, or I mixed up the TIN for this
Happens
person,
every year.
And you never think it will, because it's not stuff that it's like you can't see it until it's too late, right? And then what are you going to do? But if you've scheduled the filing, you don't necessarily have to wait to file a correction. If it's scheduled, you can actually edit that form to the right information, and then you're good to go.
Yep.
Or even if you're a business, every year we have businesses and they're filing, and then they realize a couple days later that, oh my gosh, I put this person's TIN with this person and this one's with this one when I entered everything, or on the template, or so giving yourself, even as a business, that window of time is super helpful. But that's my suggestion on the, there we go. So what, is there anything else that you want to tell us about, again, just in terms of meeting all those year-end deadlines, features that are going to help?
Well, that is quite a bit of information, but something that I like that TaxBandits does is automatic status updates. So as soon as the IRS gets your form and they send it back to us that it's been accepted or rejected, it updates in your account automatically, and you get that email telling you which way it's gone. If it's been rejected, some of the forms allow you to go back in and fix and retransmit, and of course that is
Yeah, it
free.
usually just depends on the reason of the rejection.
It does. And then you'll just retransmit it and go on about your day. If it's been accepted, you're good to go, and you're done.
And you get that confirmation.
You
so
get that confirmation.
You know for sure.
You have that peace of mind so you can go to bed at night and you don't have to worry about it anymore. Is there anything you think our folks out there want to keep in mind since it's already January?
I mean, honestly, just if you haven't already, make your account. Go to TaxBandits.com. It takes like 30 seconds, and just make the account. We have a full support team, chat, email, phone. We're here year round. We have a business development team. If you have questions, if you need help, we are here for you. But going and doing it now and not putting it off. If you have the account but you haven't really done anything yet, I can't stress enough that now is the time. Go set up the things we talked about. We've all the resources are there for you. Sometimes it's just taking 15 minutes and going and doing everything that you can, and whatever it may be. But just really making those things a priority so that you're not putting yourself in a position where you've procrastinated. Nobody likes that feeling of, oh my gosh, I knew I was supposed to do this and now it's the deadline, and we don't want that for anyone. Even though we're here, we want you to have a smooth month, as smooth as possible.
Yes.
So that's what I suggest. Yes, as stress-free as it can be. But that's my suggestion. So I think that probably wraps us up for today.
Yeah. Well, if you need anything, let us know. You can always contact us at support@taxbandits.com. You can check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/taxbandits. And just, if you have any questions, you can put it in the comments below. Bye.